Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Enlightenment Sangha. I'm glad you could join us today as we gather together in spirit to experience some Dharma talks and a little meditation, and hopefully it will inspire you for the week as we dedicate this next hour to our spiritual awakening. So I'm going to start out with a couple of songs here. The first song is one that we've heard many times, Lord Vishnu's Forest Vision. And I like this song because as you meditate to it, you can just see the beauty of the world and feel the beauty. We're so influenced by the news, which is always painting a really horrible picture of suffering and division. And there's more to this world than that. So for this first meditation, I want you to just allow your mind to go to the most beautiful places that you've ever been. And just bask in that vibration for a little bit. And then the second one will be Waves of Light from another album. And that will be one in which we're going to focus then on the energy going up and down inside of us as we meditate, that beautiful, beautiful Kundalini and Dharmakaya. So we'll go ahead and start with this first one and just let everything go, let all your cares go, and think about something beautiful. Take a breath. In a very large city, there are different areas. There's an area for the very wealthy. Familiar with Los Angeles, for instance, where you have Brentwood and Pacific Palisades and Malibu, where the very wealthy live. And when you go there to visit, you are an outsider. You would love to live there. It feels wonderful. But really, unless you're a multimillionaire, you're just a visitor. And it's hard to imagine what it's like to be people who live in those mansions and those beautiful multi-million-dollar estates. To imagine what their life is like, what their everyday life is like, and if they're happy or not. I think, like most humanity, some of them are very happy. Some of them are very content, and some are not. But I don't think that that's just for the rich. I think that's pretty much for everyone. But in Los Angeles, you have these beautiful areas, and then they kind of go down a little bit. You know, you get into Marina del Rey, you know, there's various different little neighborhoods around. And there are certain parts of LA, like downtown, for instance, and Skid Row, where it's very, very dense and very full of hopelessness and despair and escapism. And you can go to other areas of town where people are very caught up in tribalism, just the people that they know, and anyone else outside is not accepted. Very dangerous areas to go to. So a big city has a lot of variation in vibration and in lifestyle. I'm just stating the obvious. I mean, you already know this, but I'm just reminding you that cities are like the earth. On this earth, there are high places you can go to that are beautiful and incredible, and there are other places you can go to that are pretty horrible, full of anger and suffering, poverty, drug addiction, crime. That's all available in the same city. It's available in the same state. It's available in the same country. It's available all over the world that way. Where are you living? What is your life about? Are you living in the most beautiful place you can imagine, or are you stuck on Skid Row? What's the difference? It's all God. Every single soul you meet is God in the flesh, expressing itself as fully as that soul will open up to it. The issue isn't that there are good parts of town and bad parts of town. It has to do with vibration. If you're vibrating at a very high level, at a certain level, you will be attracting people and circumstances and events that live within that vibration. This is why you find wealthy people moving to a certain area of town that has that vibration. They all kind of live together there. And it's also why you have the bums and the alcoholics congregating around Skid Row to finish their last days on this earth in abject despair. Same people, in a way. I mean, they're souls, but they vibrate differently. And at the level you vibrate, you pull to you people who are like that. My teacher used to recommend that his students play golf, because golf is kind of a rich man's sport generally. Not that poor people don't play it, but it's where the CEOs and the leaders of organizations hang out on the golf course. So he would have to go there and hang out with people, rub elbows. Who are you rubbing elbows with? It's a good question to ask. Who are you hanging out with? And I think if you look around, you'll see you're hanging out with people who think like you do, who have your same values, your same morals, kind of in the same area. Probably pretty close to the same economic bandwidth. We live in a Facebook bubble. We have our friends, and then when a friend doesn't become a friend, we unfriend them. So that pretty soon all we have is people who agree with us, and anyone that does not agree with our point of view, we just unfriend them and we have nothing to do with them. We can see it on Facebook real easy. But we also do it in our own life. We don't live in certain areas of town. My dad came from the Depression, and he was very poor his whole life. He was very uncomfortable when he would go into a house that was really nice, that was nicely furnished, that was spotless and impeccable. He was very uncomfortable there. He was more comfortable, in a mountain shack. And it took me a while to recognize that I had picked up on that from my dad. That I remember I had a home in Grants Pass that I really loved. It was an incredible home. It was 4 bedrooms. It was a 3-layered house, not 3 floors, but it was a split level house that had bedrooms, and then a living room, kitchen, and then went downstairs to another bedroom, play area, and 3 bathrooms. It had a 2-car garage that we turned into a meditation hall. It had a tennis court and a little bridge that went over a creek that ran year-round to a gazebo area. It was a beautiful, most beautiful, wonderful place I ever lived in my life. And I loved it there. It just felt like home to me. My parents came to visit me, and they were uncomfortable the whole time. They kept saying I needed to move in town. I need to live in a less nicer house. And when I explained to them that this house was costing me no more than one in the city that wouldn't be near as nice, in Grants Pass, wouldn't be near as nice. Just because I was a mile out of town, I got it really, back in the day, at $500 a month, which was middle back in then. So what I'm saying is I had this beautiful home. And when my parents came to visit me, they didn't like it. They were uncomfortable the whole time. And finally, I asked my mother, I says, why are you guys wanting me to move? I have this incredible place. And my mom thought, she looked a bit, she put her head down and she says, this place is just too nice. Wow. Are there places that are too nice for you? Even if you could get them at the same price, are there some places that would just make you uncomfortable? I adjusted to the nice house really quickly. My mother never did. They just were uncomfortable. They come and visit for a few days and leave. What part of town are you living in? Where's your consciousness? What are you focusing on? I've been spending a great deal of time putting out the message of the pathway of higher intention. I'm not the only teacher doing this. There are all kinds of people all over the world saying the same thing I'm saying. I like to say that this was unique to me, but it's not. But the message is, it's going around the world right now. If you open your eyes, you'll see that there is a choice that you're making every day at every moment. And that choice is either the choice to go the pathway of higher intention or to choose the path of lower intention. Higher intention is love and compassion and empathy and selfless service and taking care of the planet, picking up after yourself and making everything better than what you found it. And all of the precepts that are in Christianity and in Buddhism, it's all the pathway of higher intention. Or you can choose the pathway of lower intention, which usually is one of aggression, tribalism, self-righteous judgment, It's devoid of compassion. It's almost a sociopathic way of looking at the world, where it's all about you and nothing else. And that's the path of lower intention. You have higher intention, you have lower intention. What part of town do you want to live in? And when you move to the place of higher intention, how uncomfortable are you there? How entrenched are you in following the pathway of lower intention? I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be empathetic, I'm going to be compassionate. But, those Republicans or those Democrats, there you go, following the pathway of lower intention. We are attracted to the path of lower intention because it kind of resonates with our DNA. We have survived by coming together as a tribe, socially, working together during times of danger, and protecting our stuff against other people and other people who might want to take it. And all of that's based upon fear. And it's necessary to control everyone, to make sure that they don't deviate from the path that the community is on. It's very dominating. We usually have leaders that are sociopathic or psychopathic, in that they have no feeling for anyone else, just themselves. The pathway of lower intention creates great suffering for you. Individually, it creates bad news for you. You can call it karma, you can call it anything you want, but it's a choice you're making. And that choice you make to go the lower path creates your world. Your world is based upon fear, usually. Love is an interesting thing. It's an all-encompassing thing. It's when your heart is open and you have empathy for other people. The pathway of lower intention does not have that. So when you go these pathways, what you focus on becomes your reality. And you identify with your reality. Are you more comfortable living in Brentwood, the higher, most wealthy area of town? Or are you more comfortable living in, I don't know, Redondo Beach, which is not bad, Compton, West LA, Skid Row? Where are you comfortable? Where are you setting up your camp? Who are your neighbors? Look around where you're living. Who are the people around you? What's their economic structure? You're living in an apartment, perhaps, that's surrounded by people who are living in pretty much the same economic band that you are in. And so by living there, you're pulling from that psychic network, because you psychically pick up on everyone within 40 feet of you at all times. So when you look around yourself and you think 40 feet, that's, it's a couple of apartments down and up. Where are you living? What city, or what's the value of the city that you're in? Are you living in a city that has the values that are very tribalistic and very cold and uncaring? Or are you living in a city where people actually are friendly, happy to see each other? And what kind of a person are you? This is an introspective talk today. I'm suggesting that you take another look at your life, at everything in your life, the clothes you wear, the cars you drive, the occupations you have chosen, your relationships, and where you live. And ask yourself, is this really what I want? Or am I just living out the dreams of others? Am I just doing what other people tell me what will make me happy? You know, you spend your whole life chasing these hungry ghosts that other people tell you. Wear Wrangler jeans, you're going to look like this. Well, I put on the Wrangler jeans and I didn't look like that. But I bought the Wrangler jeans, didn't I? Trying to chase a dream. Let it settle in. Change your focus. Change your intention. Activate your will to do the things that you're not familiar with. I encourage my students to follow their heart. And that's a really difficult thing to do. You would think it'd be easy, but it's not, because your heart is your psychic center. Your heart, you pick up on everyone and everything, especially the influences that come to you from outside or people that are close to your heart. They affect you mightily. This is why throughout the ages, we have traditionally, when we dedicate our life to a spiritual path, we would leave everyone and everything behind, go to a monastery. If you're a Christian and you go to become a Catholic monk, and maybe you show up with 3 or 4 suitcases and it's all sent home or destroyed. They take your clothes, they give you a robe. They give you a name. Brother Bartholomew or Mother Martha or something like that. They'll give you a name. And they don't allow your family to come and hang out. And you don't bring your pets. You leave everything. Sometimes even move to another country. It's letting go of the past and grabbing something else. And that itself can be a trap, because we're told that if we do that, then we will be happy. Well, you know what? Some people do that and they're not happy at all. We're unique individuals. Everyone here, everyone on the planet is taking the same God energy, that Dharmakaya, that perfect unconditional love and unlimited power, absolutely unlimited power. And we bring it down and it starts washing through our language and washing through our experiences and washing through our culture and washing through our religious ideas and philosophical ideas and our friends and all. We have all of these filters, and that perfect energy starts to turn into a dualistic element in which now we have good and bad, evil and enlightened. You have hatred and love. You have all of these things working against each other in duality. And you wonder why your life is messed up, because you're working against yourself in duality. You don't feel or know the oneness. You are still in the world, and you identify as being in the world, as being a human being. I know it's kind of hard not to argue that that's not what's going on, but I can also argue that this is a temporary situation for you, this human being thing. That you're not a human being, you are a spiritual being. You've been around a very long time. And every incarnation, we come in and we find ourselves working on these old patterns from lifetime after lifetime. Aggression, anger, lust, fear, greed, pity, superior, self-righteous, just goes on. We just take this divine energy and we start turning it in on ourselves and turning it on others, not realizing that we're all one. We're just one being. And in this turning in, we are pulling in the values of our parents and our friends, as I said earlier, and we're creating a reality of what works for us individually. And each one of us is different. But that doesn't stop us from saying, do it my way. This works. Well, here I am doing that, right? But really, what does work? And sometimes something works for one person and doesn't work for another because there are different elements that they're working on inside. The only person you can save, the only person you can change, really, is you. And there's resistance to that, changing you, because that would mean you'd have to start thinking of yourself differently than your parents and your friends and your teachers and your enemies and everyone that knows you. They have you figured out. And to drop that fixation that everyone has about you is difficult because you're comfortable in that fixation. Even though it's a horrible, horrible place to be, you're comfortable in your horrible because you don't know what's out there that's different. There's always something different that's better. Nobody has the values you have. You're surrounded by people in your Facebook bubble that believe the way you do, but even they are different. Part of my enlightenment realizations was the fact that there is nothing exactly the same as anything else. There's not even a hydrogen atom that's the same as any other hydrogen atom. You say, well, how can that be? String theory. In the old days, the atom was, back in my day, in ancient history, the atom was the smallest element there was. It's incredibly small. Since then, they've come up with the string theory. In the old theory, if an atom was blown up to the size of our solar system, Jupiter would probably be one of those little electrons going around. In the string theory, if the universe were, if the atom was blown up to the size of a solar system, a string would be the size of a little tree out there. So every atom is made up of different amounts of strings, and they're always changing and going here and there. There's nothing that's static. There's nothing that's not changing. There's nothing that's not alive. There's nothing that doesn't have awareness. And that just kind of blows your mind. When you realize that the vastness of enlightenment is not conformed to any religion or any philosophy or anyone else. How are you dealing with the infinity of yourself? How are you dealing with the fact that in reality, you are a spiritual being that is infinite in all ways? That there is no up or down. There is no in or out. There can be no edges because there are no edges. It's infinite. You get to what you think is the edge and it goes on. You individually create the up and the down, the in, the out, the high, the low, the hot, the cold, the me and the you, and the us and the them. That's inside of you. When you feel anger or fear or outrage, that's inside of you. You can ask yourself, well, where did I get that? Where did that come from? That's not the question. The question is, how can you see beyond it? How do you become unstuck? And of course, you have to work it out for yourself. Religions are all about telling you a way to become enlightened. We have lots of different religions, and people go from one religion to the other, looking for something that will cause them to become enlightened. And every once in a while, somebody lucks out, they become enlightened. And then they go and they tell people, here's what you have to do, become enlightened, but they are not you. It's inside of you. The answers are inside of you. Quiet your thoughts. Focus on the beautiful things in life. I had my students, this is back pre-COVID, many, many years ago, when I was in Tucson, Arizona. At the University of Arizona and their pediatric board, they would have these little babies, newborn babies, some of them premature or whatever, but they were in their incubators, and they would have people come in and rock the babies. Just take that newborn baby and rock it for a little bit, give it a little bit of human touch, and put it back in. And when I would have a student that was caught up in the world, I'd say, I think you need to go rock some babies. Get your mind on something else. Instead of focusing on all of your problems, hold that precious, precious soul in your arms. Love overcomes everything. It's not easy to love completely. It's difficult. They asked Christ, why must we love our enemies? Why can't we just love our friends? And Christ said, the heathen, anybody can love their friends and hate their enemies. The truly advanced, my followers, love your enemies. It's the next step up. The reason you love your enemies is because you love yourself. Who are you? You ask yourself. You're God. You're God in the flesh, just like me. We appear to be separate. We're having separate experiences, we think. But we're really one. You can't get away from the infinite. You can't compartmentalize the infinite. It breaks down after a while. Who are you? And I'm suggesting that you are a divine soul. That when you wake up, you'll start practicing quite naturally the pathway of higher intention, because a higher intention is more aligned with the infinite. It's more aligned with the beauty of life. It's not about destruction or protection or me and you or keeping this ego going from lifetime to lifetime. This is about surrendering to your higher self, your spirit within your heart. You are beautiful. When I meditate on you, I fall completely in love with you. Absolutely, because I see God. I see the divine presence in you. I see that you're not realizing it. I see that you're misusing this energy, that you're causing harm to yourself and to others, and that you're very unhappy and very desperate at times. But when you really see somebody, you look past all of that. You look past the insanity. I was in the store yesterday doing some shopping, and there was this man that was mentally disturbed. And he had grabbed this lady and he was talking to her, and he was just talking to her and talking. And I could tell she was trying to get away. And he just kept going after her and kept saying, he wasn't being mad. He was just talking about all kinds of craziness. And finally he turned and left. And I looked at her and I says, isn't that sad? He suffers so much. I look at humanity and you just say, it's kind of sad. They suffer so much because they're not awake. They don't realize that they are God in the flesh, that everything is God, that everything is so beautiful. They don't see it. So we come together and we meditate and we think of the higher things. We get a good idea here and there. And then we go out, we practice it. You work it out for yourself. I'm suggesting that if you practice the pathway of higher intention, your life will become uncommonly fine. You'll live, as the Christians say, a blessed life. You will walk in grace. You will find a peace within your heart that is beyond understanding. But first you have to get rid of the disharmony by realizing your oneness with God, your oneness with who you are, to awaken from the dream. What would that look like? Something to think about. In September, around the 17th or so, I'm taking my students and anyone else that wants to come along to visit 3 places of power. We're going to go visit Zion, and then Bryce Canyon, and then the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. They're really not that far apart from each other, 2 or 3 hours drive. Spend a day each place. But we're going to drink deeply of that energy. And if you would like to join us, just send us a note and get you the information. I'm always about making new friends. So hopefully, if you want to see some beautiful places and hang out with some really cool people, check your calendar, write us. In the meantime, this week, try to be kind to yourself. And when you find yourself becoming angry and upset or fearful, realize that you've fallen into the path of lower intention. And take all of that anger or that fear and everything and just put it in that spot of nothingness, where anything you put in there just goes away. And in this place, you put love. We are made of love. We come from love. We will return to love. And when we finally drop this body, we'll drop all of these concerns. Look at our soul, see how much progress did we make in this life? Take a little evaluation of it. Come back again. It's what we do. Okay, thank you for listening to me drone on and on. As always, it's what's between the word that count. But I think the words are pretty nice. Clean up your neighborhood, clean up your life, Do what you can to improve yourself so that you can be around nicer environments, inspire people, be the inspiration. Good luck. Namaste.